And like I said, welcome to Jack's Tech Corner. This is a live stream for April 10th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be going over today 3 key topics with Photoshop Elements. And those topics are black-white art, makeover using smart brushes, and blurring out the background. And you can see right below the scrolling screen there, or my screen, the scrolling text going across. You can actually call into this live webcast. Love to hear from you and get your questions and your concerns. Or maybe if you miss the steps, just say, hey, Jack, just stop and can you show me that again? Now for this episode, we are using what's known as the Wacom board here. You can see that. The Wacom or Wacom board. And you can use that with a pen or a stylus, and it makes it a lot easier to be able to draw on this thing and go over your art. It acts basically as a mouse. So that is what we're using for this episode, and hopefully this works out. Once again, it is live, so when you come up with a live feed like this, sometimes you end up, you never know what you're going to get until you open up the whole thing here. So we're going to go ahead and get started here right off the bat. I have my pictures already set up. A couple people emailed in last week and said, Jack, you fumbled around a little bit. Well, that was the first live show, and you're going to have that. You're going to fumble around. You have to figure out what you're going to do during these shows. So hopefully everything is broadcasting out there to you. I do have the chat window open, which I will check occasionally because it's on the computer to the right of me here. And we're going to go ahead and start off with black and white art. And I'm going to show you how you'd go about doing that and making a picture look more interesting. So let's go ahead and cut over to that. Okay, so as you see here, we have a glass of wine. And I'm trying to get this mic adjusted right so you can hear me okay. So we have this glass of wine. And what we're going to do is we want the wine glass to be the pure red that it is. But the background, we're going to make it into black and white. I haven't done this for a while, and I haven't practiced this, so we'll see how this goes. So the first thing we want to do, as always, is on the Mac, you're going to do a Command J, or on the PC, you're going to do a Control J, and we're going to duplicate that background. And we'll work with that duplicated layer. And what we're going to do now is we're going to select the wine glass. And this is what we want to do. And the reason I like to do that is select, first of all, what you're going to be using as your foreground or as your colored piece. This works really nice for any macro shot you're going to do. And then the background will actually make it into the black and white type of a picture there. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So first thing you're going to do is grab your selection tool. And as always, I like using the quick selection tool. And now using my Wacom board, I'm going to actually start around the rim of this glass, just selecting the glass itself. You can probably use your left or right bracket key and make that brush a little bigger. Hopefully you can see that getting bigger there. The one thing I don't like about live streams is I don't always like how the actual picture quality or my desktop comes through to you folks. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go across this glass. We got the glass there. Let's try to get the bottom of it here a little bit. Just like so. And the sides. You want to try to get this selection, as best you can. Now at some point you're going to have to lower your brush size down again. So let's lower it down using the left bracket key on your keyboard. And that's on Windows or Mac. It really doesn't matter. A bracket key is a bracket key. Okay, we went outside the line there. Don't worry about that. That's okay. Go up here. You want to make sure you get the rim up here. And over here, we're going to make sure we get this rim right here. Let's go down towards the bottom. Make sure you get the stem of the glass. Even though there's not that much color in that, but that's all right. We want to make sure we get the stem just to make it the whole glass. Now this place where you went over right here on this right side over here, just go up and hit the minus tool. We're going to do a subtraction from the selection. And again, we'll just go right over here. just like so. And I see we messed up a little bit more, so we'll add that. The best way, folks, when you're doing these is make sure the selection looks good. You know, that's what you want to do, is make sure your selection really looks good. Let's go here, and we'll fix this up right here. Okay, once you have that all selected the way you really want it to look, you might be able to go over here and make just a little bit better selection right here. We should now be ready to go ahead and transform the background into the black and white. That's the object here. So what you'll do now is go to Select, and we're going to inverse this. Because what inverse does is now, instead of the glass being selected, everything on the outside is selected. And now we can actually go ahead and transform this and make it black and white. So if you go up to Enhance and then Convert to black and white, you're going to get this little convert box up here. And what this allows you to do is plays with your adjustment intensity. You can also play with some styles. You can select a style and use different styles with it. But the intensity, you can actually bring that red up a little bit more. Well, you're working with the black here, so drop this down a little bit more. You don't want to bring it up too light. You want it to make it look kind of old, right? Kind of aged. But that glass will be nice and crisp and red is what you're trying to accomplish here. Let's click OK. And then you would simply go up and select, deselect. And that would get rid of all the selections. And now you see you have a very interesting picture here. You have a nice red wine glass filled with nice red wine. And everything in the background is actually blackened out, or black and white art. And that's all there is to it. This works really good. I've used this in a lot of weddings. It works really, really well for you know, the flowers, the cake. Makes it really, really interesting. So just something to shoot for there. Something that you can play around with a little bit. And hopefully you'll enjoy doing these. So play around with these with a lot of different pictures and see what you come up with. So with that said, all you would do at that point is do a file, do a save as, and save it as a JPEG image. And then you would actually do a file, save as. Remember, folks, it comes up as a PSD or a Photoshop development file, but you just change it in the format here to JPEG. And save it out wherever you want. You know, always make it. I always suggest that you make sure you know where you're saving. So many people do photos and do things, and they say, "Jack, I don't have a clue where I saved that at, and I lost it." This file name, you will never ever find this again. So we'll change that to black wine glass. Right, because maybe I would find that somewhere again, and I just simply click on save. At that point, I'm going to make it a large file. It's 3.4 megabytes, so we're going to click yes or OK. And at that point, it's set up and ready to go. So I hope you've enjoyed that black and white tutorial, and really how easy it is. I call that black and white color art is what I call that. And I hope you've really enjoyed that one. We are now going to go into our actual next tutorial here. But if you have any questions on that one, by all means, go ahead and call in. I'd like to hear from you, or Skype in. You can definitely Skype the show. Just load up Skype and bring up Jack's Tech Corner. Just search for that and click a button, and you're calling, you're dialing in. So be good to hear from you. Or call that number on the bottom of the screen, scrolling along there. Yeah, you can see it okay. 724-701-0911 with your questions. So let's go ahead now, and now we're going to go into our makeover using the Smart Brush. The Smart Brush tool was introduced in Photoshop Elements 8, I do believe. I'm pretty sure it was 8. I don't think we had it in 7. And what the Smart Brush tool allows you to do is to do things to pictures very easily. And now it builds its own layers. It does all of its own work. So I'm actually going to pop these off here a little bit. Give my ears a break. Those are mainly in case somebody calls in there. So I think we're okay. I don't need to hear anything there. So the actual Smart Brush tool is just that. Like I said, it gives you certain aspects to the picture or certain things you can do with it. So we are going to bring up our next picture. And here's a picture that we're going to work with. I'm going to flip back over to my desktop for you. Here's a picture we're going to work with, and we're going to use the Smart Brush tool on this picture. So we can actually enhance it and change it a little bit and make it more pleasing, I guess. Not that it's a bad looking picture or a bad looking girl. This is one of those pictures these kids take where they hold the camera 3 feet from their face and they snap the picture. But we're going to fix it up a little bit, and you can use this more or less for things such as you know, you're doing glamour shots for people and you want to clean them up a little bit. This is a nice way to do it. And it's very, very easy to take these shots and clean them up. So let's go ahead and work on this one. The first thing I like to do before I do anything with the Smart Brush is to use the Spot Healing Brush. If you can see it here. On the left on your toolbar, Smart Healing Brush looks like a band-aid. And you set it up here to what's called Content Aware. What that does is, as you're going over something, it samples everything to the left, to the right, and top of that, and it will blend it in without you doing a whole lot of other work. So that's pretty neat. We're going to go over here. I'll lower the brush size down a little bit. And you know, teens have little pimples here, so we're going to just go here and just pull down over top of this pimple. And you can see the Content Aware just takes that and blends it right in. It hides it. So we can just clean up all the little imperfections somebody has on their face. Which, like I said, isn't many. If somebody has freckles and they don't like them, watch, we can just go right over the freckles. Just again, it's just real little pools here. We can really clean these up a little bit. Just like so. I'm not sure what this is here, this little black. I don't know if that's probably, I would think it was hot that day. It might be a little mascara or something that slipped down there. Let's clean that off. Clean this off. We'll look around. And if you can't see any, sometimes you can't see what you want, go up on the left. You know, don't struggle. Go up on the left and click on the magnifying glass and bring that up a little bit. And now you can really get into some detail here and see what's going on. Let's go back to our tool again. We'll just get right over that. That's how you fix that. I'm not sure what these white specks are here. I don't know if that's some kind of glitter. You know, girls wear glitter on their eyes. I don't know what that is going on there. But you could, by all means, you can clean that up. Just like so. May want to lower your brush size down a little bit. Get inside this eye here. Right up in here. Again, when this is blowed up and printed, you may not see this stuff. Let's fix this up here. Fix this up here. Now, if you use your move tool, you can move this picture to the left or right. If you see there, I didn't duplicate the background before I started, so we'll do that now. I'm sorry, you know, sometimes you slip. It is a live show. Go back up to view and fit on screen, and it will actually come back to where you had it. Just like so. And now we can begin working. We're going to actually put the tool down here, the actual pen. or the stylus. We'll put that down. And with that down, what we're going to do now is we're going to start using our smart brush tools and cleaning this up a little bit. Again, the smart brush tools are located on the left. You'll see it here right under the pencil. It's called the smart brush tool. You click on it. Then it's going to give you a little drop down menu at the very top. Now it starts out with nature, but we're going to go with portrait for this particular demonstration. Now, look at the stuff you can do in here. You can brighten their eyes. You can enhance details, lighten skin tones. You have that option, lighten skin tones. Adding lipstick, I'll show you. That's it's okay. It's not what I like the most. Pearly whites is real nice to whiten teeth. Spray on a tan, we'll try it. I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see what's going to happen. Very pearly whites, and that's it. That's all of your portrait to make a glamour shot, to make it very easy to touch up somebody, so you can actually make the picture more interesting. Again, not that it's a bad picture. I wouldn't say that. So let's go ahead and start with brightening the eyes. So I double click it. And now all I got to do is go in here on the eyes and just tap on the eyes. Now I'll go over this side and I'm going to tap on this one. Again, you're tapping on the pupil. That's what you're going to brighten up, is the pupil itself. Now click back down here. This little guy right here, this little red thing, what that's for is if you click it, you can enhance it even more. I like to pull that out. I don't like that it puts it right into the picture like that. And we will not click on here and get rid of that. You can now see that the eyes are brighter. Now, if you want to get rid of some of this highlight up here, what we need to do is click on this, click minus. We're going to lower our brush size down because you see here we went outside the pupil a little bit. So we're going to lower our brush size down. We're just going to go on top of this. Then we're going to click on the add button again, and we're going to go in here. We can just touch it right about there. Okay, again, I'll click on layer 1 so I can have a look. It doesn't look too bad, not too unrealistic, and that's what we're shooting for, to have something that does not look too unrealistic there. Okay. The next thing I'll show you is how does that lipstick stuff work. It's okay. Like I said, it's not the greatest in the world, but let's go ahead and apply some lipstick to this person here. So I go down to lipstick and I double click on it. And now all I got to do is just come over and draw right over the lips. Again, I try to do this as small as brush as possible because, you know, lips are lips, right? They're not half the face, so you got to be careful where you're drawing at. Just like so. And we're going to pull this up here. Again, if you go over, don't worry about it. We'll fix that in a minute. Because, you know, you're probably going to do a whole selection. Here's what's going to happen. Then we're going to have to subtract some of this selection and clean it up a little bit. All right, if I click on minus again, we're going to go ahead and start getting rid of some of this. Get as close as you can to the lips. Again, it's not the greatest, folks. You can make them look like the Joker from Batman here if you're not careful. And we're going to come right across the bottom here. This top part here by our nose, I don't think our lips go up to our nose. Okay, let's add a little bit. We're going to add right down here. Again, remember, here, let me show you this because I think this is pretty vital. my smart brush tool here again. Okay. So this is vital right here, being able to get in here, clean this up a little bit. So it's easier if you zoom up, you can actually see what's going on more. And see, it just loves to select all the face. I really don't like that. Subtract, because look, we have it inside the mouth too. We're going to have to get in here. Subtract this out. Again, folks, it does look like, you know, the Joker. It's not going to cooperate with me here a lot. Let's do view. Fit the screen again here. We'll try to get in here. Let's check this off of here. I think we actually have two of the effects going on here. So we're going to come over here to the right. You can see on your layers, or right click and delete this layer. Can't have two at once going on, folks. It's going to be too crazy trying to work with that. So I'm on plus. And I don't want to bore you with this. We're going to try to get through this really quickly here. I'm just trying to show you how this tool works. And there we go. Hit the minus button. Get rid of some of this stuff up in here by our nose again. So basically all it's doing is making this selection and it's coloring it for you at the same time. That's what it's doing. I'm going to try to get the inside of the mouth out. Just like so. Let's get rid of this. Okay. Get rid of that. So as you can see, it's not 100%. It doesn't work too great, but it's there nevertheless. So you can try that out and play around with that a little bit. And hopefully everybody will catch on to this and be able to work with this a little bit better. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is the spray on tan. What does that look like? Is that worthwhile to do? And we'll play with it. The spray on tan works just like if you're airbrushing, right? You can come up in here. We'll go down a little bit. We'll just give her a little bit of tan on her head there. We'll just come over a little bit. There, I did her whole face. How's that? Pretty nice and quick. We are going to subtract a little bit here. Right over here. Let's get rid of this. So now she has a little bit more of a tan. And all it does here is you see it on the right. It does make a layer mask. Puts a layer mask on there. And it's just that way it's non-destructive to your actual picture itself. You shut this off, you can see that's her without a tan. Turn it on, that's her with a tan. So there you go. That's how you would brighten that up. So again, that's the Smart Brush tool. There's a lot you can do with it. Maybe we'll look at it later on. I've done a lot of videos on Smart Brush tool and how it works with scenery. Works really beautifully with landscapes. So I think you'd be really... You would enjoy it. I mean, it's going to enhance your pictures more than anything else. Let me flip back over here. So at that point, that is the actual Smart Brush tool. We actually looked at some black and white art. So we're keeping right on schedule here. Actually, kind of blowing these away because it's not even 10:30 yet. We have another half hour to go yet. So, you know, your calls, if you folks have any questions, you want to call in about those first two tutorials, now would be a great time. Give me a call. We can talk about that. We're going to go ahead and move on, though. Give you a few minutes to call in. trying to think if I could talk to you about anything else as we're waiting to see if anybody would ring the phones and see what's going to be next. For those that didn't tune in, on Tuesday evenings now, I'm working out a Windows Server 2008 lesson, which is another hour show to learn about Windows Server and how that works. So it's something to think about. I am recording this, so this show, everything you see on screen today is going up on YouTube. And I also learned on Justin TV how to highlight my videos. Once they're highlighted, I guess after talking to somebody that's been using Justin TV for a while, they stay there forever. So you can see the whole entire show on Justin TV. And then on YouTube, we'll post it there. They're just awful big. That one I did last Sunday was 2.5 gigabytes I uploaded to YouTube. So it was awful huge. But we'll go from there and see what we get going on. Hit the mic here again. I need to actually start, I'm going to start doing more videos too. I got to get more videos together for YouTube and get those up and working there. So hopefully that'll come together here real soon. I guess I've been maybe not procrastinating as much as being lazy. That happens, you know, when anything, especially when you're working full time through the week and you're trying to knock a show or two out a week online, plus recording videos. Okay, plus gaming, you know, you got to throw some of the gaming in there, so that does happen occasionally also. All work and no play, right? Makes Jack a dull boy. So, okay, folks, we're going to jump on here. Trying to bring up my last picture we're going to work with. So, let's flip over to this picture. And in this picture, what we're going to do here is we're going to blur the background. Now, a lot of times you see this go on with things such as photographers do it. I know I do it. I put you can either do it with your settings on the camera, setting in aperture priority mode. You can raise and lower the aperture and get this effect. Or you can simply throw in a zoom lens onto your camera. And if you throw that zoom lens on the camera, what happens is the zoom lens actually allows you to blur the background out. It's usually harder to blur the foreground than it is the background. Of course, I'm thinking today it's supposed to be about 80 degrees out there. I'm thinking today about getting the camera, heading outside, and taking some macro shots and trying to blur and seeing how if I can blur the foreground and leave the background crisp and clear. I can do it in the editor, but I don't know if I can do that so much in the actual camera itself. You know, that's where you want to do everything. Folks, when you're taking pictures, the key of photography is get the shot when you're there. You can't relive the moment. This shot I have up on the screen right now, we can do this again, but this particular picture I'll never relive. It'll never be exactly the same. Think of this. These two folks, right? My son and my stepdaughter are going to be older. They're going to change. Facial expressions will change or whatever. So what we're going to do here is we're going to set this up and we're going to blur that background out and bring them into the foreground. It's a very nice technique. It works very well. And I think you're going to enjoy this one. So let's go ahead and first, as always, let's go ahead and duplicate that background image or background layer. That tells me I was not clicked on it. There we go. We'll click on it. Okay, so now the background layer is duplicated. And now we can go ahead and start working on this actual picture. The first thing you want to do to make this as easy as possible is to select what you want in the foreground. It's always easier to select the foreground than it is the background. So let's go get into my favorite tool, and you should know what that is by now. That is the quick selection brush. And we will go ahead and we are going to start making a selection. So I'm coming up here, trying to select here. There you go. Get the hat. You know, sometimes hats are tough. You want everything in this foreground selected. So that's really important. We want the boat, right? The boat's got to be in this foreground also. Well, it doesn't have to be, but I think it's going to make it more interesting if you have the boat there. I don't think they can be sitting in the middle of the water, so you don't want to blur the water out that much, or the boat, blurring it into the water. So we're going to fix that up there. We're going to come up here and simply do this. We're going to select our face. Again, selection is the key to editing. Remember that. Hair is a real pain. So if you get a couple strands and you're blurring, you know what? People aren't going to see that. But if you miss half her nose, people are going to notice that. So you're going to have to be really careful. Okay, let's select the life vest here. Now, I don't know why we had a life vest on, folks. This river was running at about, I don't know, maybe a mile and a half, miles an hour, if that. We actually got stuck a few times. Just tell you the story there. My son had to actually jump out of the boat a couple times and pull us through the water. So it was quite interesting. I give him a lot of credit for that. He did fall once. He was pulling us along. It was pretty shallow, and all of a sudden it dropped off to about 6 feet, and he kind of went down. But he's a really good swimmer, so that's key. He was able to swim and get back in the boat. At that time, he threw my stepdaughter into the water because she looked too dry. So I wanted to throw that out there to you. So anyway, she wasn't dry after that. She was very wet. Luckily, she had her swimsuit on. You can see there, and it worked out okay for her. Her mother panicked more than anybody, but kids are very good in the water. All of our kids are very good in the water, and that's a bonus. So just want to throw that out there. Again, we're just making a selection here. I like to tell you the background of my pictures when I'm editing. I hate to edit a picture and be like, well, I found this on Google Images. Well, I didn't. I don't find any of my stuff on Google Images. Maybe some of the backgrounds, but the stuff that I edit is the stuff that I shoot. And the reason that is because I know where it was and I know what I want to do with the picture. That's really important. Another aspect of photography, and I know I talk a lot. If you want to stop me, just ring my phone and you're going to stop me and I'll be able to talk to you. Another aspect of photography is shoot with editing in mind. You know, when you're looking at something, say, how can I edit that? What would I do with it to make it more interesting? And I think you'll come up with a pretty good plan. You'll start editing and or shooting and editing or shooting and saying, I want to replace this with a certain background. Or shoot some backgrounds. It's not a bad idea. Shoot some backgrounds out there, and I'm sure you'll be good to go with that. As I pause there, for those that know me, you'll know that I'm drinking coffee because as I talk so much, my throat gets dried out and can't talk anymore. Okay. So at this point, we are going to go ahead here and we're going to invert the background again like we did before, right? It's pretty easy. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go up to Select and Inverse. Now, what we just did there, we selected the background and the foreground is no longer selected. Now, Jack, why do you do that? That's kind of crazy. Well, basically, the reason we do that is it's called selective, I like to call it selective editing. Whatever you have selected is what you're editing. So if everything's selected, you're going to edit the whole picture. If you're only selecting a certain part of the picture, that is what you're actually editing. So we're basically, as we talked about last Sunday, for folks, for those that were around, we're isolating the picture. So we're going to isolate part of this picture. Now let's go up here to Filter. We're going to go to Blur. And you have a lot of options here. I did a video a while back, you can find it on YouTube, where we basically took that motion blur and made it look like the person was actually running across a bridge. Very high rate of speed where the background was basically blurring out behind them. Almost like Star Wars or something, or Star Trek, where you've seen the ship flying and then all of a sudden it would just disappear and you would see all the lights coming from it. We did that blur. But for this blur, I want to use a Gaussian blur. Now, as I see right away here, I have a problem. Look at the top of the hat right here. You can see that part of this hat is not correct. So I'm going to hit cancel before I go any further. And I see it now. I can see it right by that B because when I blurred it. I'll do select, inverse again. Come here. We're going to add to the selection. And we're going to fix that because that's going to be a big problem down the road, right? It's not going to look right. Okay, let's get the hat. And I'm just double checking around my picture, making sure everything else looks pretty good. And it does. Everything else looks like it's selected just fine. Again, select. Let's inverse. Filter. Blur. And then Gaussian Blur. Now, at that point, what we basically did was we made that blur so bad that we just, I would say we destroyed the picture, right? This is okay if you're replacing the background with maybe a you know, another background or a plain picture if you're replacing it with something like that or a clear color. But we're not. We don't want to destroy the background. We just want to blur it out so we're enhancing the foreground. That's what you want to do. You want to enhance the foreground itself. So here what we're going to do is take this slider and slide it back. And I'm going to move this to the right here a little bit so we can start seeing. Because you want to tell that story, right? We want to say, look, this is where we were, but we don't want that background taken over for the foreground. So that's what we're thinking about here. So let's blur this back down. Let's pull this back down a little bit. A little bit more. And you got to keep it so it looks real. But again, you don't want it overpowering. You want the eyes pulled directly to the foreground, not to the whole picture. And that might not be enough. Yeah, we'll take it a little bit higher here. We'll take it to about 4.0 and click OK. And I can see right on her back there, you see where you got this little piece sticking up here. So again, we'll just do select, inverse, and then we'll just come down here and try to get rid of that. Okay. Once you're done with that full picture, go to select, deselect, get rid of all the selection. And there you have it. Now you have a really nice picture with these two, the two kids here, right? Young man, young woman, I guess at this point, sitting. They're very well. You can see them very well. You can even see if you look there in the bottom of the boat. That would be a wise chip bag. Yeah, kids like to eat when they're going. We had a whole lunch packed for this. This was at the Ohio POW, actually in Pennsylvania. And this picture, actually, this trip I think was, I'm pretty sure it was almost, probably close to 4, almost 5 hours to go down on this raft. So it was very interesting. It was a good trip. The kids had a good time. I know I had a real good time, and everybody was pretty happy to actually be able to, you know, go out there and have a good day. We got good suntans, had a lot of fun together. No cell phones, that was fun. No texting each other. So that is how you would blur the background. I hope that helps you out in your photo editing. And I hope everything works out for you there to edit these actual pictures. Okay, folks, so on that note, I've taught you 3 things today. We learned about black and white art. We learned about making over someone, doing some glamour stuff with the Smart Brush tool. We learned that the lipstick thing is not all what it's cut up to be, right? We learned that for sure. That's not all what it's cut up to be. And we also learned how to use blurring the background and how that actually affects the picture. So that is what we actually picked up today, and how we actually learned how to do that together. And I'm glad everybody did stop by this morning. So cut this off here into the station camera. This camera is kind of neat. I put this up just to so you can get a view of the actual studio here. My son was over last night, and he always tells me that I do things kind of on steroids, because whenever I do it, I try to do it in a big way. And you know, part of this is because I want it to work out. I want you folks to be able to learn, spread the message out there. We're not getting the viewers that I want, and I did put this on Twitter. Obviously, I didn't Facebook it. It's more, I probably should have Facebooked it that it was going to be on, but you know, my downfall, I guess. But help spread the word out there, and help us to be able to talk to people about you know, these shows, and about how well they are. Are they working out for you? I am going to leave the feed open here. It is 10:42 on my clock, Eastern Standard Time, 10:42 a.m. Sunday morning, and I'm going to leave the actual Skype open, and I think I'm going to leave the feed open for a while. If you want to watch here, I'm going to flip it over to the desktop. If you want to watch how I actually save this recording and how I actually compress it down, I mean, that's totally up to you guys. I know my buddy, if you're out there, if you're watching, I know you got spring cleaning today. Congratulations. That's a good thing, I guess. But you know, you got to get it done. Got to clean. I mean, I got a studio to clean up here to wrap up. I got stuff everywhere in here this morning with the extra lighting I put in, with the green screen I threw behind me to try to do some chroma keying this morning. I got a mess in the place. It's crazy. I got to pick all this stuff up, and I'm tripping over wires. But with that, I think, you know, we're going to wrap it up here, and I'll probably do something illegal. I'll play some music in the background here. And I know that's probably illegal. I don't know. I don't own the rights to the music, so I don't understand how that all works. But I'm just going to play some music in the background as I edit these videos down, so you can watch how I actually save this. I use a program called ScreenFlow to record as Justin TV's recording. So my iMac is like sweating bullets right now. So believe it or not. Let's flip back over here. So yeah, the iMac is definitely sweating bullets right now. It's killing it. I mean, I'm just wrapping things up here. It's crazy how much this computer's actually doing right now. It's running my live stream. It's running CamTwist is what I use to do all the camera cuts. I'm using CamTwist Studio. Works very well once you learn how to use it. It's kind of funny to use, but once you learn it, it's a piece of cake. I mean, it works nice. Gives me the scrolling text at the bottom for the phone number. If you want to call in this week and discuss anything, I'd like to hear from you. And these shows are tough, because this show, if you think about this, the time zones are different, right? So if I'm starting at 10 o'clock here on the West Coast, that would make it 7, right? 7, yeah, 3 hours. So it'd make it 7 o'clock on the West Coast. I don't know. Do you wake up first thing in the morning and turn the computer and want to watch a show? All right, I do. I'm geeky. What can I say? So, folks, that's it. We're going to wrap it up here. I will leave Skype open. And if you Skype in, you're still going to go across the airwaves, because I'm going to leave the stream open. That's something different. A very good friend of mine I met about a week ago. Not a great friend, I guess, but a Justin TV producer. That's how I was able to talk with him, actually, because as he was editing his footage down, he left his stream open. And now that I know I can go in there and make highlights, I'm not too concerned about Justin TV recording for hours and hours. It doesn't matter to me. But at that point, you're just going to see my desktop. You'll see the scrolling thing at the bottom of the screen, and we'll go from there. I'm not going to break this recording until I'm done actually finishing up my ScreenFlow video, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to cut this mic back just a little bit, I think. I think I'll do that. I will listen. If you want to call in, I will listen for that. But other than that, thanks for joining me, friends. It's good to do this live stream with you. And I'll see you back here next Sunday or Tuesday if you want to join in for the Windows Server one, Tuesday night. We're going to be constructing a new server, actually loading up a new virtual machine for a server, so you can see how that's done. The steps to load up a new server, because last Tuesday we had a heck of a time with it there. We had a lot of problems. So I'm going to build a new server and you guys can join in and watch that. So until next week, take care. This is Jack at Jack's Tech Corner Live Studio. Bye for now.